The planet Zalera 7 was a graveyard of civilizations long past, its deserts littered with the skeletal remains of forgotten empires. Towering ruins stretched towards the sky like the fingers of long-dead giants, whispering stories of their former glory to those who dared listen. Among these ruins, embedded in the heart of an ancient temple, stood a blade unlike any other. The Zalarian sword, as it was called, had been a source of legend for millennia. Forged from an unknown metal that pulsed with a dim, ghostly light, it had remained embedded in a great obsidian pedestal for as long as history recorded. Kings, warlords, and conquerors had all tried to claim it, believing it to hold the power of the gods themselves. Yet none had ever succeeded. The sword defied all attempts to remove it, as if it had a will of its own. For centuries, the sword had been watched over by the Zalari, a race of tall, silver-skinned beings whose civilization had once spanned half the known galaxy. Though their power had waned, their devotion to the blade had not. They believed that only a true warrior, one chosen by destiny, would ever be able to claim it. Many had tried. None had succeeded. And so, when the human arrived, few paid him any mind. Isaac Vance was a scavenger, a drifter among the stars. He made his living combing through the ruins of dead civilizations, selling whatever artifacts he could find to the highest bidder. He was neither a warrior nor a conqueror. He had no noble blood, no claim to greatness. He was just a man looking to survive in a galaxy that cared little for the weak. Yet something about the sword called to him. He had first heard of the blade in a seedy cantina on Zaros 4, where a drunken Zalari priest had spoken of it in hushed, reverent tones. Intrigued, Isaac had tracked down every mention of the artifact he could find, piecing together its history from scraps of forgotten lore. What he found fascinated him. The blade was said to be indestructible, imbued with the power of an ancient force long lost to time. More importantly, it was priceless. If he could claim it, he would never have to scavenge again. So he came to Zalera 7, expecting to find a relic that had been exaggerated by myth and time. What he found was something else entirely. The temple was massive, its entrance flanked by crumbling statues of long-forgotten warriors. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of ancient stone and something older, something powerful. The pedestal stood at the center of the chamber, the sword rising from it like a shard of frozen lightning. Its surface shimmered in the dim light, reflecting the faces of the Zalari priests, who stood in solemn silence, watching him with unreadable expressions. They did not stop him. They did not need to. They had seen this before. Isaac approached the blade, feeling the weight of 1,000 eyes upon him. He reached out, wrapping his fingers around the hilt. It was cool to the touch, humming beneath his skin like a living thing. He braced himself, expecting resistance. Then, to his utter shock, the sword slid free as if it had been waiting for him all along. The silence that followed was absolute. The Zalari priests stared in mute disbelief. Some fell to their knees. Others took a step back, as if fearing the weapon now held in Isaac's hands. For the first time in recorded history, the blade had been claimed. And not by a Zalari warlord, not by a mighty champion of their people, but by a human scavenger. Before Isaac could fully process what had happened, the chamber trembled. A deep, guttural sound echoed through the temple, like the growl of some slumbering beast awakening after eons of rest. The blade pulsed in his grip, its glow intensifying. Something had changed. Something had been set into motion. The Zalari high priest stepped forward, his golden eyes wide with something between awe and fear. You have awakened the blade of Zalera," he whispered. "The trial begins." Isaac barely had time to react before the ground beneath him split apart. Shadows erupted from the cracks, swirling into the form of towering, inhuman figures. Their eyes burned like embers, their bodies wreathed in ghostly flames. They were the guardians of the blade, ancient sentinels tasked with testing the worthiness of any who dared claim the weapon. Isaac had no idea what he had gotten himself into. The first guardian lunged, its spectral claws slicing through the air with deadly precision. Instinct took over. He raised the sword, expecting it to be nothing more than dead weight in his hands. Instead, it moved with him, as if it knew what to do. The blade met the guardian's strike with a flash of blue-white light, severing the creature in two. The phantom let out a shriek before dissolving into nothingness. The remaining guardians hesitated. For the first time in millennia, one of their kind had been slain. Isaac exhaled sharply. "All right," he muttered. "Guess we're doing this." He had no idea why the sword had chosen him. He had no idea what the trial entailed. But he knew one thing: he wasn't about to die here. And so, gripping the ancient blade, Isaac faced the darkness head-on. The guardians attacked in unison, their spectral forms flickering as they closed in. Isaac moved purely on instinct, the sword guiding him as if it had fought these creatures before. He twisted, parried, and struck with inhuman precision. Each swing of the blade sent a guardian screeching into the void, their forms unraveling like mist in the wind. As the last one fell, the temple trembled once more. The pedestal from which the sword had been pulled cracked open, revealing a hidden staircase descending into darkness. The high priest watched with wide eyes. "The path to the blade's true purpose is now open. Only the chosen may walk it." Isaac wiped the sweat from his brow. "Of course there's more," he muttered before stepping forward. Whatever lay beneath, he was ready to face it. For better or worse, destiny had chosen him. Isaac descended into the unknown depths, each step illuminated by the sword's eerie glow. The air thickened with the presence of something ancient, something watching. At the bottom, a great door awaited, covered in glyphs that flared to life as he approached. He felt the blade pulse in response, as if unlocking memories buried in its metal. A voice echoed in his mind. "Bearer of the blade, you have passed the first test. Now you must prove yourself in the forge of eternity. Only the worthy may wield the true power of the Zolarian sword." The door groaned open, revealing a chamber bathed in liquid light. Floating constructs, remnants of an age-old intelligence, moved into formation. The trial was far from over. Isaac tightened his grip. "All right, let's finish this." And so, the legend of Isaac Vance and the Blade of Zolera truly began. But as Isaac stepped into the chamber, he sensed that this was more than just a test. The sword had chosen him, but for what purpose? Was he a warrior, a savior, or something else entirely? As the constructs closed in, their metallic forms shifting and adapting, he prepared for battle, knowing that whatever lay beyond this trial would determine the fate of more than just himself. The fate of entire worlds rested in his hands.